hadn't been old enough to work alongside her family, she still recalled her mother and sisters coming home after 12-hour workdays, hot and exhausted, their fingers blue from the dye that colored the pre-cut material they'd sewn to form men's vests. In all those months, Sophie had never learned how to sew, not even a button. Besides, even if she and Anna found work as seamstresses, the pay was abysmally low. How would they be able to afford to live on it, even if they stayed with Anna's sister? More specifically, how would she be able to clothe, feed, and take care of Olivia and Nicholas? In spite of her reservations, Sophie had agreed to take up residence with Anna's sister in a tiny tenement on Mulberry Bend. The 2 rooms they shared with Molly, 3 other women, and their children weren't nearly big enough for all of them. Still, the place was safe. Now that she was Danny Sullivan's Bowery girl, he would take care of her and wouldn't let any harm come to her. "You're so beautiful," he whispered huskily. With her long blonde hair and bright blue eyes, she'd always drawn attention from boys. But in the past, she'd been petite and thin, able to pass for a much younger child. Over the previous 6 months, she'd grown and filled out so that she'd had a much harder time deceiving the orphanage workers into believing she was 10 or 12 years old. At the juvenile asylum, she'd told the staff she was 15, even though she was drawing nigh to 18. They'd believed her, yet she knew her days of being able to stay with Olivia and Nicholas in the asylums was fast coming to an end, that soon enough the workers would get wise to her lies about her age, and they'd force her out, just as they had Anna. That knowledge was another reason she'd decided to live with Anna and her sister. Danny's lips traced a path to her collarbone, and his hand on her back crept lower. Too low. "Danny, stop!" She pushed at his chest, trying to keep her voice light and playful. "You're mine now," he said breathlessly, "and I want you." "I want you." The words reverberated in her head and made a warm trail to her heart. When was the last time someone had wanted her? Sure, Olivia and Nicholas wanted and needed her, but at 5 and 3 years old, that was to be expected. But want? Really want her? She couldn't remember a time in her life when anyone had valued her. She'd mostly just been a burden, to her overworked father after they'd immigrated from Germany, to her ailing mother before she died, and to her older sisters when they'd had no work and no place to live. Even during the past 2 years living in Boston, and more recently in New York City, she'd always felt like a burden in the overcrowded and understaffed orphanages. Having someone finally want her was a new experience. She relaxed within Danny's hold. Surely there was nothing wrong with letting him touch her more intimately tonight. After all, he'd made a public declaration that she was his girl, and forbidden to anyone else. She shoved aside the guilt that slithered through the cracks of her closed conscience. She'd become an expert at locking guilt away into a closet at the back of her mind. Even so, Danny's too personal touch embarrassed her. With the harsh yellow light spilling out of the Green Dragon, the other gang members who'd gathered in the narrow alleyway behind the dance hall would be able to see Danny's fondling. Just a short distance away, Anna was locked into the embrace of Muggs, and they were kissing passionately. There were other couples hiding in the shadows, taking pleasure in one another. It was normal and natural here among this crowd, even expected. Better out in the dark than inside the saloon with its cigar smoke-blackened walls, sticky floors and broken chairs, with the scent of salted pig's knuckles making her gag. Even worse were the girls dancing on the stage, twirling and flipping up their skirts to reveal their silk petticoats and more. She hadn't wanted any of the other men to assume she was a dancing girl, even though she'd sat on Danny's lap.